Our first case is going to be Mr. Ryan Crotwell. Mr. Crotwell, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Ryan Joseph Crotwell, 429586.
I'd like to explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record. And then those persons who wish to have any input will be able to speak. I see Mr. Lancaster is here. Mr. Lancaster, we have a number of people who wish to speak. We'll allow 3 non-lawyers to speak, but your lawyers will allow whoever wants to speak there. But we've got about 5 people that wish to speak beyond the lawyers. So
we have 3 down.
I'm sorry?
According to my marriage list.
Oh, okay. Who would those be?
So if I could introduce myself. So Robert
Sure.
Lancaster with the LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic here today, representing Ryan Crotwell. I'll let my students really briefly introduce themselves and they can let you know the 3 speakers.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Anna Vandenor. I'm certified under Rule 20 and I represent Mr. Crotwell. And if it's appropriate, if the board allows, I'd like to make a closing statement again.
Certainly. Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Elena Lacey. I'm a 2L. I assisted Ryan in his case. Today, in support of Ryan here is his cousin Nicole Rowell, who will be speaking, his brother Joshua Crotwell, his aunt Renita Crotwell, his cousin Tasha Sterling, and his long-term friend James Levine, who will also be speaking. James was incarcerated and he met Ryan during their incarceration. James has been out for 3 months. He's working. He set a great example for Ryan and he will continue to act as a mentor. Speaking on Zoom today will be Dr. Daniel Birch, Ryan's mentor through American Sign Language International. And in support on the live stream today is his mother, Julie DeFore, his grandmother, Mary Orso, his cousin, Tiffany Crotwell, and his brother, Shane.
So just to make sure I have it correct, Wayne Ross will be speaking, Dr. Birch will be speaking, and James Levine will be speaking. Is that right?
And Nicole Crotwell.
We need only 3. We can only allow 3.
Wayne Ross is not speaking on Ryan's,
I'm sorry, Wayne Ross will not be speaking?
not on Ryan's behalf.
Okay. And Nicole, I think, is going to be speaking. Nicole Rowell is
Yes.
speaking. Okay. Okay. All right.
Excuse me, Wayne,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
excuse me. Wayne Ross will be speaking.
It's not on Ryan's behalf.
I'm sorry.
He'll be speaking, there's not on Ryan's
I
behalf.
believe Mr. Ross's office.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I didn't realize that. I don't have that on there. Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Mr. Ross, is that Wayne Ross? Is that, or Nicole? Who was that with Mr. Ross? Mr. Ross, I apologize. I had you listed under the wrong place. Certainly you will be speaking.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we do have Mr. Ross will be speaking in addition, in opposition today. Let me explain our process to you. Once we have everyone is had an opportunity to speak, we'll conduct an interview with you. And after we have the interview, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say, and then your lawyers will close out our hearing. Do you understand our process? Okay, I'm going to read into the record. This is the matter of Ryan Crotwell, DOC number 429586. Mr. Crotwell's date of birth is November the 20th of 1983. He is classified as a first-time felony offender. He has is serving a life sentence on the charge of second-degree murder. Is that all accurate, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Is this your case? Your case has been assigned to Mr. Alvin Roche. Would you please answer Mr. Roche's questions?
Yes.
Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Crotwell. How are you?
Good, sir. Good morning, you.
Good. I know you're nervous. Sit back, relax, and we're gonna have a conversation, okay?
Yes.
Mr. Crotwell, later on this month, you'll be 40 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Monday.
Yeah, November 20th, you'll be 40 years old. You are a first felony offender. As a matter of fact, this is the only arrest on your criminal record, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're what we call a Miller case, a juvenile lifer. You were 15 years old when you committed this crime, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as of April 22nd, 2024, you would have served 25 years.
Yes, sir.
And according to an act of the state of Louisiana legislature, that a person who was convicted and sentenced to life without parole and later on resentenced to life with parole is eligible for a parole hearing and eligible parole after he serves 25 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Crotwell, I'm going to be very frank with you. I cannot cover all the information in your record today. So I'm going to highlight some of the things that you've accomplished in the 24 years of incarceration. Tell us about the sign language program that you started some 10 years ago.
I was approached by a friend of mine who was in the program, and he asked me if I would like to learn sign language. And we began studying on our own, and he introduced me to Dr. Birch, who later got me in the program. I wasn't in the first class, but I did get into the second class, and I really enjoyed the program. I met some wonderful people. Miss Connie, who has passed now, was like a grandmother to me, and they worked really hard with me to give me skills that I could use to help not only my fellow offenders, but to help myself once released from prison. They also gave me a sense of community and a sense of encouragement to keep doing the positive things that I was involved with in my incarceration.
There is some hint in my information that you want to pursue this as an occupation after release. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I do plan to have to re-up my skills some more, get with some more deaf individuals to help me improve my skills a little bit, but I do plan on doing some freelance sign language work on the side of my regular job.
And what would be your regular job?
I have a job offer standing. I used to be a trustee at the National Guard base in Carville, and they would like me to come out there, live on base, and do maintenance work to the homes, the apartments, and different places out there, as well as little construction work.
So you got a good government job.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about Toastmasters.
Toastmasters honestly changed my life. When I first came to prison, I was very young. I had zero communication skills. I was constantly in altercations with officers and my fellow offenders. And mainly was due to my lack or inability to communicate effectively. When I got to Hunt in 2010, 2009, I was introduced to Toastmasters, and through some great mentors and help, I was given the skills that I needed to learn to communicate and keep me out of those altercations and out of trouble pretty much completely.
Are you currently still a member of Toastmasters?
Yes, sir. I'm serving as a sergeant at arms at our club here, Speakers of Valley.
Good. So tell me a little bit about the National Center for Construction, Education, and Research.
NCCER is a certification program based all over the world now to teach you the safety of utilizing the equipment that you run. I'm a level 3 certified heavy equipment operator. I can pretty much operate anything under a crane. It also gave me leadership skills through crew leadership, field safety skills, how to recognize problems, site layout, how to lay out construction sites.
Tell me what programs or what educational program that you tutor.
I was a literacy tutor. I helped people learn how to read who had no reading skills when they came in. I was also an ABE tutor, adult basic education, helping people prep for GED, and later on, advanced math teacher for the Impact program.
I understand that you taught a fellow offender who was 50 years old how to read. How did that feel?
It was, I hate to say pride that in myself that I was able to help someone through hooked on phonics who was 50 years old and learn to read regular sentences. It was amazing to me.
Tell me about the programs that you facilitated.
I was a CPR first aid AED instructor. I taught other offenders how to perform CPR and first aid as immediate response. I taught classes. I taught reentry program. I had been through phase 1 and phase 2 facilitating program and facilitated here at the police barracks. I've taught numerous classes through Toastmasters. I facilitated victims awareness after going through victims awareness myself here at the police barracks. And anything else that I can get into, I usually try to learn it and then help teach others.
So let's talk about your CPR training. How long have you been trained in saving lives through CPR?
Since 2009, sir.
Tell us about some of your hospice work.
I started hospice because I lost my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, and some uncles to cancer. And hospice was a big part of their care at the end of their life, where I wasn't there to be there. I got involved in the program and it really touched me. I was able to help other offenders, people I grew up under, die with dignity in a place where there was very little to be had.
2009 was a very significant year in your life. You lost your father, you lost your grandmother, your grandfather, your nephew, your uncle, and shortly after that, you lost your sister. We'll get back to that later because the events of that year will probably make what's possible today possible. Because before 2009, it wasn't really good, was it?
No, sir.
Okay, but we'll get back to that later. Tell me about some of your vocational training.
I have a degree in OPIT, outdoor power equipment technology, where I learned to work on things such as four-wheelers and lawnmowers, weed eaters, 2-stroke engines, 4-stroke engines, and all sorts of other equipment. I also have a degree in carpentry. I was part of a program who built cabinets for Habitat for Humanity at the Lane Hunt Correctional Center. And I worked as a heavy equipment operator and construction worker for the maintenance department and helped build multiple buildings, the dog kennel, cattle pens, the ice plant, and the hobby shops at Lane Hunt.
Since we're talking about Habitat for Humanity, let's talk about the flood of 2016.
Flood of 2016 hit everybody really hard, and the prison was in a scramble because we were on preparation to leave at any moment because the water was literally a quarter-inch from going into the dorms. I was a orderly for the warden at the time, and rather than sit in the dorm or sit out, I volunteered to help run the canteens so that the people in the dorms were able to get the things that they needed, place sandbags around the prison to keep water out of particular areas.
So tell me about your part you played in COVID-19. You were selected, very few persons were selected, but you were selected to be quarantined from the facility so that you continue working downtown in the state office buildings. So tell us a little bit about that.
When COVID struck, the administration came through and found people who were the least likely to be affected by COVID, and they took a select few of us and placed us in the hotel down the street. Our jobs were to go at night and maintain the buildings that were being run through skeleton crews at headquarters during the day, as well as later at Fleet, we were upfitting the rest of the police units for that year for the state troopers.
So tell us about your transition plan. Where will you go initially, and where will your permanent transition plan be?
Initially, I'll be paroling out to the Parole project, should you choose to grant me. They will help me get the classes that I need, further evaluations, hook me up with a counselor or therapist, because I do intend to do counseling and therapy once I get out to continue my growth. Also, once I leave the Parole project, I will be going to the National Guard base in Carville, immediately going to work there, taking up my job and living on base where I'll be on call.
And since you mentioned behavioral counseling, I read your mental health evaluation, which was pretty good, but it also recommended that you enlist the services of a behavioral scientist to help in your transition.
Yes, sir.
And we talked about the good, but in every life, and you're only 40 years old, you're a very young man, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we got to talk about the ugly now. In 24 and a half years, you had 95 to 96 disciplinary write-ups. But in all those write-ups, I did not find one intoxication write-up. So we're going to talk about drugs now. Have you ever had an issue or been addicted to illegal drugs?
No, sir. Most of the trauma in my life was caused by people who were addicted to either alcohol or drugs. I have no desire or want to ever use them.
So you've never used or abused illegal drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Okay. So we can continue. But you had 22 contraband write-ups in this span of time. Was any of that contraband drugs or alcohol?
No, sir. The majority of them were tobacco products in places where they weren't allowed.
You've been in extended, well, not extended, but you've been in lockdown 39 times in 24 years.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what was going on.
My first 9 or 10 years, I was at David Wade Correctional Center. I came in at 16. I had extreme problems with authority. I was easily manipulated or roboted by the older offenders for their own amusement. And I wasn't thinking for myself. I didn't take responsibility for anything I did. I blamed it either on being on mental health medication or someone telling me to do it. I was constantly in confrontations with the officers or my fellow offenders. I did not know how to communicate. My communication skills were limited to the loudest, most violent person was the right person. And in that process, I accumulated probably 87 or 88 write-ups in that first 10-year period at David Wade.
Well, let me break it down for you. From the first 10 years, you had 84 write-ups. And in 2009, it just started to turn around. It could have been the multiple deaths in your family. You came to the realization it was time to follow the rules, regulation. It was time that you become the mature individual that probably would. And then you started taking programs. In 2009, I saw an upswing in programs and vocational courses and Ashland University, you got a degree. And then between 2009 and 2018, you just had 8 or 9 write-ups.
Yes, sir.
A drastic improvement over the first 10 or 11 years of incarceration. Then in 2018, all the lights went off. And you haven't received a write-up since early 2018, almost 5.5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
So tell me exactly what happened in 2018 that you completed your turnaround.
Honestly, sir, the write-ups in 2018 were later dismissed and they reinstated my trustee status. It was a miscommunication on work assignments that got out of hand, and I didn't communicate well on my end, and the person I was trying to communicate to wasn't very receptive to it. But after it was reviewed by the wardens, they decided that it wasn't necessary for me to have been written up and lose my trustee status. And they reinstated my trustee status and supposedly had removed the write-ups from my jacket. But the transition that I did go through in 2009 and 10, when I was transferred to Lane Hunt, a man named Dr. Sanders took a big chance on me. He became a good mentor. He ran the education building, and where everybody else told him not to give me an opportunity, he gave them to me. And he encouraged me. And through the loss of my grandfather, my father, my uncle that year, my nephew, I was going through a lot of emotional things. There were some other things surrounding that going on in the prison atmosphere. And I was just tired, and I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be the person that my grandmother had always told me, person that I was encouraged to be by the people who loved me and wanted to see me do better.
Now, I knew something had happened if Captain Honeycutt and Captain Washington selected you for the police barracks. I knew that you had made a turnaround. Okay, now, Captain Washington,
Yes, sir.
would you like to make any comments, remarks, or observations?
So I've known Ryan for about 3 years now, and I will say he is a very goal-oriented, very hard worker. Whatever we've asked him to do in that time, he's been more than willing to do it. He's gone above and beyond on numerous occasions to help fill a gap when something was needed. We've tasked him with different projects, construction or remodeling, and pulled him away from his regular job, and he's gone and done those things for us. He's also a very accomplished speaker, as you can tell. I'm happy to see him have this opportunity. Like we all know, childhood trauma is a real thing, and I'm glad to see that he's grown. So,
Thank you, Captain Washington. Mr. Crotwell, you have made a miraculous turnaround, drastic improvements. I see the maturity. I see the rehabilitation. Is there anything that you would like to mention before I complete my interview?
Yes, sir. I realized the enormity of the crime that I committed. I took a man's life. And not only did I hurt him, but I destroyed the safety, the security, and the peace of his family. The man had done me no wrong. He never harmed me. He never spoke ill of me. And I destroyed it. I destroyed his family and my own. Saying sorry isn't enough. I can't undo it. I can't give them back what I took. But I do hope that everyone can see that I'm not the child that I was. I'm not 15. I'm not immature. I've grown into a man who respects life and loves life on all levels. And I want nothing more than to be able to go home, take care of my mama, and live a peaceful life.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll hear from your supporters. First, we'll hear from Dr. Daniel Birch. Good morning, Dr. Birch. How are you?
I'm doing well, Your Honor. Good to see you again.
Good seeing you.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on Ryan Crotwell's behalf and also for all of your service in this process. I have to admit, I learned a lot about Ryan through the interview process that I did not know, and was even more and became even more impressed with him as an individual. I've known him for many years. As Sergeant Washington said, he's a hard worker, he's a self-starter, he's incredibly intelligent and a very deep thinker. He has, as you heard him say, he has reconciled himself, or may not be the right way to say it, but understands that the decisions that he made were his decisions and has taken full responsibility for them and is blaming no one for what has happened. And considering his early upbringing, the environment, it's understandable that crimes were committed, but he has certainly made a turnaround in his life. I've talked with him philosophically about his decisions, and I have great respect for him. My colleagues and I stand ready for when he's released to assist him in continuing his sign language training and mentoring him. We have a dearth of sign language interpreters in this state, and he would be a great addition to that, especially in the part of the state where there are no sign language interpreters. Coincidentally, his tenaciousness has got him a job at Carville, which coincidentally is where my great-grandson is based in the Army Reserves, which kind of surprised me. But I would really implore your favorable decision on his behalf. I think he's deserving. We're a country of second chances. I believe he deserves a second chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Birch. Now we'll hear from Mr. James Levine.
Good morning, gentlemen. I've been before you before. I'm sure you remember my face. And in February, I stood before you two gentlemen in a different capacity. You granted me the second chance. I'm here for Ryan because I know him in a way that nobody else here does. I was locked up. Ryan was an angry young man when they waited him. I watched Ryan through the things that none of them could see. His conversations with the officers, his run-ins with other inmates. People were trying to take advantage of him. And I saw him stand firm. I saw him make bad decisions. Ryan did something really, really stupid when he was 15. I think nobody can deny it, at least for all Ryan. And it took him a long, long time to understand that he made a decision. When it pushed him, he tried to blame everybody else. He tried to blame the guards and DOC, but didn't even know him made the decision. But at some point, he began to realize that he was responsible for something. And that he's the only one who could turn it around. In 2009, he left David Wade. A big part of his transition was getting away from David Wade because he'd made such a hard bed there, nobody else would let him get out of it. Once you have a black mark against you, people don't want to look away from it. Ryan had to bear it the entire time he was at Wade. When he got to Hunt, he had a first shot. People gave him opportunities. Dr. Birch was one of them. Dr. Birch gave me the same opportunity. I watched Ryan go through Toastmasters. I was the president several times. He was on the whole. Ryan's been nothing but an asset to that program. We were in hospice together. Often Ryan and I would take the midnight shifts. I'd come in and relieve him at 1 a.m. He'd get up and go back to his dorm, sleep for a couple hours, and get up and go to work. I'd work from 1 till 5, and I'd go. Ryan and I have watched each other grow. We've watched each other struggle. You're gonna hear a lot about the change that came through him. And that's important. I want you to hear that. I want you to hear about the struggle too. It's not easy for anybody in DOC. It's even harder for a child. And Ryan was a child. He's become a man. That's not easy to do in that environment. He's improved himself. He's improved his life. He's done everything he can for his family. He's done everything he can for himself. If you grant him his release, and I hope that you would, I promise he can sleep on my floor. He can work anywhere I am. I'll do anything I can to help him stay. He's like a little brother to me. I want to see him. Take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. We'll now hear from Ms. Nicole Rowell.
I did not take Toastmasters, therefore I have everything written down. My name is Nicole Rowell, and I am Ryan Crotwell's first cousin. I'm here to express my sincere support for the parole consideration of my loved one. I understand that you, as the parole board, has the challenging responsibility of determining whether an individual is ready to reintegrate into society. And I genuinely believe that Ryan has made significant strides towards positive change and rehabilitation. I have been personally involved in Ryan's journey and have witnessed his growth through the years. He has taken every opportunity to participate in educational and vocational programs, demonstrating a true commitment for his personal growth and self-improvement. These programs have not only enhanced his knowledge and skills, but have also fostered a sense of responsibility and a desire to give back to the community. Ryan and I became even closer in 2009 after his father and our grandparents passed away. I became his power of attorney and helped him throughout the years managing his financial and personal affairs. Once he was relocated to Hunt's Correctional Facility, it was a lot easier for me to visit him. I have always enjoyed our visits. As a child, he wanted to make it a lab, and as an adult, he shows his love to us by being a listening ear, by being empathetic and compassionate. He is extremely intelligent and a deep thinker. He has learned through the years to listen to both sides of a story and to give an honest opinion. While he has been incarcerated, many life events have happened to me personally, including both my father and sister going through cancer. He continues to call and check in on my family and to check in on me and to make sure that I'm coping well. Our visits not only involve catching up on life, but we love to play board games. We both are competitive by nature, and so it makes for a great time. We also like to eat, so he knows that my visits will revolve around lunch. Last November, for his birthday, we had a large family gathering and we all brought dishes. The guys cooked and the kids ran around and played. It reminded me of us as kids, and it was a blessed day. He has joined many groups, including Toastmasters, where he has been recognized on an international level. I had the opportunity to attend several of the Toastmasters events held at Hunt's Correctional Facility. I was amazed at the talents and strong ability in public speaking. He has used this avenue to help him in leadership roles and to teach other offenders that also have a desire to learn. During these events, I was able to meet fellow members of his Toastmasters Club along with their families. The atmosphere was always positive and fun, and it was on those brief moments that you forget that he is incarcerated. I understand why he always chooses to surround himself with highly motivated people like himself. Ryan has a strong support system waiting for him outside prison. Our family, including myself, along with close friends, are fully invested, providing a nurturing environment that will facilitate his successful reintegration. We understand the importance of having a solid support system in promoting stability and positive change. Ryan's intentions is to stay on the base at Gillis Long. If for some reason that does not work out, he will always have a place to stay, whether it is with me or another family member. We fully support helping him get a strong start in the right direction. I kindly request that you consider Ryan's application for parole with utmost care and fairness. I believe he has shown genuine remorse, significant progress, and a strong commitment to make a positive impact in society. Granting parole would not only provide an opportunity for him, but also enable him to contribute to society in a meaningful and constructive way.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we'll hear from Mr. Wayne Ross. Mr. Ross. Good morning, Mr. Ross. Can you hear us? I think you're on mute. Did you unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
I'm sitting here listening to all this, and all this sounds great. But at the time, when you intentionally shoot my brother off of a lawnmower cutting grass, you shot once, and then you bolt another bolt in it, a bullet in the rifle, and shoot him. After the first shot, to me, reality should have set in. What am I doing? You know, but that didn't bother him. And he just goes and sits over in the backyard like nothing's happening and all this kind of mess, you know. I've heard rumors before after all this transpired, they were hanging dogs in the trees back there and all kind of mess going on around there. I think he deserves to stay right where he's at, and he can just learn a lot more educational stuff. He should have thought about that before he started all this other stuff. That's all I want to say, and I hope y'all think about this. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. We do appreciate your comments. Mr. Crotwell, is there anything you'd like to say before we turn it over to your counsel?
I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to come before you. Once again, reiterate, I'm responsible for all the things I experienced in my life. My father wasn't standing behind me. Even my cousin who was there with me wasn't standing behind me when I shot Mr. Ross. That's my fault. I did it. I don't seek to make an excuse for it because there is no excuse. Human life is the most precious thing on this earth. And I had no regard for it at 15 years old. And I completely understand his brother's outlook and respect it. I just ask that the board see that I'm not the child I was. I've grown, I've matured, and grants me an opportunity to prove that and be an asset to my community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Counsel?
It's no longer the scared, lost, immature 15-year-old boy he was when he took the life of Mr. Ross. As I think we've all heard today, over the past almost 25 years, Ryan has matured into the 39-year-old man he is today, a man that he is incredibly proud of. And he's done this through being goal-oriented and hardworking, and through a dedication to education, programming, and community service. I think that Ryan truly embodies the underlying rationales of Montgomery and Miller. That is, that children, even those who commit the most heinous crimes, are capable of change. The foundation behind Ryan's rehabilitation has been his unwavering remorse. I'm sure as y'all can hear Ryan speak today, he feels this remorse deeply in his heart. And on top of all of this, Ryan has an intentional re-entry plan that will set him up for success, initially releasing to the Louisiana Parole Project, where not only will he be able to receive counseling from social workers on staff, but also be taught skills that he's missed out on being incarcerated for the past 24 years, whether that be how to open a bank account, what self-checkout is, or simply how to use a cell phone. As Ryan always says, he is not entitled to parole. He always says that to me, you know, Aaron, I don't deserve parole, but I hope the committee today can show me mercy. For these reasons and any other reasons that seem apparent to this honorable committee, Ryan respectfully requests release under Act 277 so that he may rejoin his family and become a valuable member of society. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Panel ready to vote?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am ready to vote.
Mr. Roche?
Mr. Chairman, for those viewers who are not familiar with the Miller decision, a Miller case is a little different from each case that we see on a regular basis. Miller case is a offender who committed a crime before the age of 18, who was convicted is sentenced to life in prison without benefit of probation and parole, which the Supreme Court said was a cruel and unusual punishment. And since 2016, these cases have been resentenced based upon a judge's decision saying that this was not the worst of the worst. And Mr. Crotwell was resentenced to life with the possibility of parole, and the legislature passed an act 3 or 4 years ago stating that those Miller offenders could be eligible for parole after serving 25 years. Also, there is a federal decision stating that in considering a Miller case, you must consider rehabilitation and maturity. It also states that if you deny a Miller case, you cannot deny that Miller case on opposition alone. There must be some other reason why you have denied a person who's classified as a Miller case. And going through Mr. Crotwell's information, the only thing that I could identify that would lead me to the decision of denying his release is opposition. And there is federal decision saying that I cannot use that alone for denying. So based upon rehabilitation and maturity that I see in this offender, positive remarks by Captain Washington, an excellent transition plan, and excellent family support, my decision is to grant Mr. Crotwell's early release under the following conditions. Mr. Crotwell, you have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. I want you to do some community service with at-risk youth. You were 15 years old when you committed this crime. I want you to talk to the youth the youth is going rampant nowadays. I need you at least to get with your parole officer, your pastor, and get groups of youth and tell them your story and try to lead them in the right directions. And I also want you to have a mental health evaluation, which I'm almost sure the Louisiana Parole Project will do. That is my decision.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Wise?
First of all, to Mr. Ray Wars, my condolences to you and to your family. We appreciate you participating today. Your input is valuable, and I know this is a hard thing. It's really a hard thing. My condolences to you, sir. And there's a lot of research too, about when you said that about, the dogs and, harming to animals. There's a lot of research about individuals when they're harming dogs and animals and stuff that they need to really be looked at because it leads to where we are today, according to the research. But as Mr. Roche is excellently outlined, and the LSU proposal excellently outlined the law today, and we are mandated to follow the law. And Mr. Ryan, you've done your part. You have done well. I want to commend you for how you pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you got on the right footing and you stayed there. And I just want to commend you for that. My vote is to grant as well for the reasons already stated. And I concur with the special conditions set forth by Mr. Roche. But I urge you to use your Toastmaster skills and use your educational tutoring skills in your community service efforts. A lot of teenagers now can use those benefits of that knowledge that you're leaving with. Use that in your community service. Best wishes to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. West. I'd also like to thank everyone here. Mr. Ross, certainly I appreciate the courage that it took you to speak today, and thank you so much for being here and expressing your views. I appreciate all the other participants who've been here, the excellent job done by the young lawyers involved in this case. I do concur with my colleagues. My vote would likewise be to grant an early release to the Louisiana Parole Project. A special condition that you follow all recommendations of the Parole Project, which would include a mental health evaluation. You'd have a curfew between 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. You are to do 5 hours of community service work per month, primarily aimed at risk youth. You can work with your parole supervisor to be able to work out those arrangements. Your parole has been granted today. Thanking all of you for being here today, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you
We
so
done
much.
police tax?
That's really